Hello, Megan.
Hello, Michelle.
Welcome to Sisters.
They
were never such devoted sisters. Oh, I love it. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about your brain, as we always do. I've got a couple little tidbits, little things I've read, and some stories about you.
Fun.
And then we'll dig into that brain of yours, try to figure out, what you were thinking, maybe with the behind the scenes, the behind the curtain. What do I say?
Yeah, behind the curtain, behind the brain, behind the skull, behind the cranium.
Okay. And then we'll talk a little bit about some strategies or some ways that might help you now, and then hopefully talk a little bit about our community that we're trying to develop. So, okay. So we've been talking about neurodiversity, and then I was reading the other day about neurotypical. And so I don't know any of those things were things we were thinking about when you were a kid.
No.
Nobody came in and said, Michelle, you are or are not neuro. And then I was like, what is neurotypical?
Yeah, it is a good question. What is it?
And so I think it's kind of what it isn't.
Okay.
If that makes sense, right? So it's like if you're neurodivergent, you're not neurotypical. So I just kind of want to throw those words out.
I have a giant eye roll right now.
I know you do. You do.
Giant. Like it's the biggest eye roll. My therapist would be so proud of me.
Good job. Way to do it. So I want to kind of throw that out and just talk about neurodiversity on this podcast.
Well, okay,
is that okay?
Yes, we can do that. I just have to say one thing.
Yes, please.
About neurotypical and how they don't really have a definition. Maybe they do, but it's what you're not, right? And so it's like, who's to say that I'm not neurotypical and that all those quote unquote typical people, they're the divergent ones? Who made the decision that my brain's not typical and everyone else's is normal?
Exactly. What I'd like us to focus on is the fact that we are all diverse in our thinking, that all the brains are different. I just find yours particularly interesting.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine. In my head, I was just thinking, I've realized through this whole process that I think in images.
Yes.
And that's why I think I struggle to always translate well. But in my head, I have this image of a land, like the ADD land. And if I lived on that land and it's beautiful and gorgeous, I would be the normal one.
Yes, you would be typical.
Yeah, I'd be typical.
Yeah, and I think we're still kind of talking through these terms. And so I just want to be really conscious of the fact that I don't think either of us are experts in this by any means, but we're trying to learn more.
Right.
And partly learning more by also saying what we want to call it, what we want to use for language, and what we don't might be part of that.
Right.
Okay, so in this neurodiverse world, your brain, I think my brain's pretty interesting too, but your brain to me was always fascinating versus like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because I think, as you're saying, like you think about things in images, and I don't think I've ever, until recently, heard you talk about it that way.
Yeah, I don't think I consciously understood it until we've kind of been talking more about it, and there's been a safe place for me to talk about it.
Yeah.
But, this has been the whole reason why, my spouse and I, Brian, he and I struggle linguistically and that's been the biggest issue that we've had is that just being able to translate to each other. And I'm starting to recognize now that I think in pictures and I talk in pictures.
Interesting.
And he's talking in grammar and language and I don't do that.
Right. And so it's natural for you to make a movie.
Oh, yeah.
But very difficult for you to have just a conversation about logistics.
Oh, yeah. Logistics.
Right. Yeah.
God. Sounds like my nightmare.
Okay. So I want to kind of pick apart your brain. And, my thinking of it is always looking at it from sort of a scientific point of view. So I wanted to kind of take a look right now at like different senses, right? And the one I want to focus on in this episode is the sense of touch. So we've been talking about, how your brain, you think through things and process things. I'm curious though, at any given restaurant we're at, you will order what we call a spicy water.
Yeah.
Right. So you like a sparkling water. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's something about the touch of that too. Maybe that's in this.
It feels so good in the mouth.
Yeah.
It like the bubbles.
Love it.
It just feels delicious in my mouth.
Interesting. And so the spicy water, the sparkling water that you get, you always order a lime.
Yeah. If it's out of the tap, like where they have soda water or carbon, club soda. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll order a lime just to kind of help with the flavor sometimes because Tucson water is kind of,
Okay. And you will always hand me the lime. And yes. I am just supposed to know. Actually, you don't hand me the lime. You just push the water towards me.
Yeah.
You push the cup towards me, and then it's my job to take the lime. Because if you handed me the lime, it would have meant you would touch the lime, which you don't do.
No.
Okay, so you're not touching lime, and you want me to squeeze the lime in for you, which I'm happy to do. No problem. Is that related to your brain in the way you think of things? Is it something else?
Well, I know that my brain has a hard time letting go of the fact that there is lime on my fingers. So there's like a whole process that happens for me. First of all, it's like lime is a little bit sticky. Mm-hmm. And then it's also acidic. So if I have like any hangnails, then I know it's going to be really painful. But also there's something about having that smell on my hands for too long because then it doesn't leave. And also it's out of control.
Out of control. The lime is out of control.
That's correct.
And what might that mean that it's out of control?
Well, I think what it means for me is that my brain cannot handle, I can't focus on anything else. Like I'm hyper aware of the fact that there is this stuff on my hands and I kind of can't let it go sometimes.
Does it make it hard for you to concentrate on conversations or other things that are...
Yeah. I mean, I already have a hard time concentrating on conversation. So then if I add another element to it, then, forget it. I can't, if like the radio's on, I can't talk to somebody. It's just too much stimulus, too much input coming into my brain. And so if there's something sticky on my hands are always moving. And so I'm constantly aware of it. And then also like I tend to talk with my hands. And so that I'm wafting this smell.
You're like smelling the lime.
Lime. I enjoy the flavor of lime, but smells in general, like, they can be overwhelming for me as well. So I keep smelling the lime. And so then what happens is like, as I'm talking to you, I will waft, my hands are moving. I waft it towards my face. And then all of a sudden I see a lime in my head. And then I don't see what you're talking about.
Because when I'm talking, you're getting a visual image.
Yeah. I'm creating images in my mind while you're speaking.
So you're translating my words into images.
Yeah.
And now there's lime that's just like lime. There's just like a...
Yeah.
Like, would it be like a thing you would
like
have in
Vegas? If you're watching a movie and then all of a sudden, a clip of a lime just like pops into the...
Or there's like a dancing lime across the screen or something?
No, it literally it's a cut.
Oh.
It's a literal cut.
Oh, so it's not over something. It's like...
It's not overlapping it, yeah.
It's just now that other thing that you were talking about is gone.
It's a hard cut.
Oh.
Now a lime is being in there, right?
Yeah.
So you're watching like When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
And she's in the deli scene and she's having the orgasm scene.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she's like, lime. Lime. I'll have what she's lime.
So it's a staccato kind of thing almost for you, like tick, 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 tick. Oh my gosh. So it's a sign of respect for me that you care enough about the conversation we're about to have.
Yeah.
To ask me to lime your water. Is that what you're saying?
No, it is.
I want to pay attention to you.
Yeah.
If I touch this lime, I'm going to be paying attention to the lime.
Yes.
And I don't want to pay attention to the lime.
Correct.
So I'm going to do this. Okay. That totally makes sense.
And that's the other thing too, is like if I mean, now that you're saying that, if someone's like eating chips really loudly or, there's like other things, like I'll ask them to stop. And I know a lot of times people think it's actually a negative towards them, but it really is a positive. Like I want to be able to hear what you're saying, or I want to be able to enjoy whatever it is that we're doing together.
Yeah.
And if these noises are happening, I can't focus.
Okay, so I'm just going to do something really quick. Okay, so give me that.
Yep.
So we're talking and I'm like listening to you talk a story, and then I'm like,
yeah. All I can see is like crunching chips in my head.
okay.
Like I actually don't, your face kind of, in my mind, your face blurred, like it blacked out, and all I could see was a crunching chip.
Wow. Okay. We're going to play a little game then.
Okay.
Because we're going to dig into Rosie's brain. Okay. So let's play a little game then.
Okay.
I'm going to throw out a subject, and I want to know what the image is in your brain.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm talking to you about my work, right? And I'm working with students who need help with math, and one of them is pretty upset. They needed some help and they weren't getting it, so they're really upset.
Yeah, I visualize you in your office, and them walking in, and I visualize them sitting down, and even if it's over Zoom, right? I know, and if you told me like, oh, it's over Zoom, then I would revisualize you in your office over Zoom, talking to them. And I literally saw you in your office, which is why it's hard for me if like I don't know what things look like, then I struggle to hear it.
Okay, so you're moving soon, and I said, are you excited about going to move?
I'm not. I have no idea what it's going to look like.
Got it.
Like I'm excited for the beach because I know what that's going to look like. I know what that's going to feel like. I know what it's going to feel like, but I don't know what that beach looks like.
Got it.
So I'm actually imagining the beach that I do know, just so I can kind of have something to be excited about.
Okay.
Like I know when I get there, I will be totally excited and I will love being there, but I don't know what it's going to look like.
So it really helps you, even if you're going somewhere, to know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Okay. New one. All right. If I say, okay, Rosey, you need to go make dinner and then fold the towels and get ready for bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm like my next question would be, where am I doing this? Because right now I don't have a home. So I immediately thought of your house because we're in your house right now. And so I saw myself, in your kitchen, making dishes and making food, and then going to your laundry room, grabbing the towels.
But what
and
did you
them.
see in your head when I said making dinner?
I saw your kitchen.
Oh, just the kitchen.
I didn't see anything else other than like just I'm going to be in the kitchen, and I saw white towels.
Okay. So then when you're trying to go back and remember what you were doing, like, okay, so, in 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, well, what is it you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Are you going to remember the images of the kitchen and the white towels?
No.
Interesting.
Because they're flashes. They're like quick flashes. So this is actually funny because like there are some times like where I forget to bring my brain, or I haven't quite figured out how to deal with the thoughts at night that come and all of the things I have to do. And so one of the things I've started to do is I create like a little acronym for myself. So like if I'm sleeping and I don't have my pad of paper or whatever, I'll know, okay, you'll say, cook? What was it? Cook?
Cook dinner.
Cook dinner, fold the towels.
Get ready for bed. So cook starts with a C. Fold towels starts with an F, and then get ready for bed starts with a G. But I might also think like, okay, well, cook is what's the verb? I got to cook, I got to fold, or I have to do towels, and then I have to go to bed. So B for bed. So I will say G, F, B, and then I'll try to like say, okay, GFB kind of sounds like KGB. Okay, KGB, so GFB, and then I kind of think about like, well, maybe it's actually like I try to find a pattern to remember GFB. Oh, okay, it's my girlfriend B, like my girlfriend bitch, or something. Like I'll find something that's funny to help me remember what the acronym is, and so then I'll wake up in the morning and I won't remember it, but I'll like something that will tickle me, like
okay, I remember girlfriend, bitch. Like, okay, what was the G? Girlfriend. Oh, GF, right? And the bitch was for B. Okay, so GFB. So what was the G? Okay, I have to.
I think it was a C, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I've already messed it up. But I'll literally do that, and I'll spend probably part of the morning trying to remember what B was. And I'm like, I know there's something I have to do. I know that there's something I'm supposed to do. I know that there's a B there. But what was it? What is it I'm supposed to do? And I just can't remember.
So it really helps you when you have a pad of paper or something so you can write things down.
Yeah, but then remembering the pad of paper is always hard too. So it's just a challenge.
So it can spend a lot of time trying to remember the basic things that you need to be able to do.
Yeah.
Interesting. So in terms of the whole idea of touch, and you were saying like it really brought us into the whole concept of that everything you do is so visual. What are some of the things that you might be using to help you either in conversations with others or with this sense of touch that's so, complicated, it sounds like, for you?
Mm-hmm. It is complicated. I think
like you need to touch things too, I've noticed. Like you really you're very tactile.
Yeah, the image that comes into my head is calmness. It's an emotion. So like I just imagined a wave just kind of washing over me or just washing over. And so what happens is like when I touch something, it actually calms me because it's almost like overstimulation in a sense. Like, right. So there's all of these different senses and it kind of allows me to focus because like I'm choosing to touch this thing and then I can really focus now.
Because all the stimulation is coming in all the different ways and that's like your lightning rod almost.
Yeah. It's like an overstimulation. Like when I was in college, I realized that if I went to a Starbucks to study, I could study so much easier than if I was sitting in my room by myself alone.
Interesting.
It was almost like just too little stimulation. And then if I went to a Starbucks, there was just so much happening that it just overloaded my brain so that I could finally focus.
Interesting. So in terms of touch, that's one sense that you have a lot of control over on a regular basis, that you can touch things, right? I mean,
yeah,
that you can hyper focus on that. And then it allows whatever else is sort of muddying your thought process to go in the background.
Well, yeah, because like, so I have this, they used to have like slap bracelets when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And they still have them.
Yeah.
And I have one that is a sequin slap bracelet and it like, it changes colors and I have it on my steering wheel because there's times like where if I can just rub it, it actually does a couple of things. It's tactile. It's also, there's some sound to it. And then there's a visual. So in a way it actually does encompass all of the things that I need to be able to focus.
Just even driving.
Yeah.
Because you could get distracted driving.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
Wow. Okay.
And so like I've had to find ways to make sure that I'm staying in the moment. And so a lot of times too, like especially a lot of people go on autopilot when they're driving.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I'll notice that I've been on autopilot. Like I'll be like, wait, I don't remember where I was just at. And so then I will sit at a light and say, Megan, you got to remember you're in a car that could potentially kill somebody.
Got it.
So the tactile actually grounds me and it brings me back and it forces me to like, okay, I'm here. I'm present. This is where I'm supposed to be. Not off in whatever brain world I was in.
So I brought up the lime because I was thinking it was something you didn't want to touch. And it kind of was, right? I mean, it kind of is that thing of like stickiness. But it sounded like the bigger picture was that it was the smell that was overwhelming you almost and the touch. So if it's something you want to touch and you're choosing to touch, that's very different than something touching you or or you having something tactile on you that is annoying you.
Yeah.
Or is distracting. I guess it wasn't even, maybe it is annoying that it's distracting, but that it does distract you to that degree.
Yeah, it'll stop me in my tracks.
No, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's because it's just grabbing all of your attention. It's like your complete attention suck at that moment.
Well, yeah, if you think about the slap bracelet, it's bringing me back. It's grounding me. Mm-hmm. And so having something sticky is now grounding me, but it's also distracting me from whatever else if I'm trying to focus on something else, it's a constant reminder to ground myself. And so it's actually pulling me out of what I'm trying to focus on.
Yeah.
If that makes sense?
No, it totally does. Because I'm thinking kids that were in my classroom. And I remember one of them, as people would walk by, if anybody would brush up against him, he was immediately distracted and couldn't do anything else that I was asking him to do. And we talk about it as attention deficit, like you're not paying attention to what you're supposed to be paying attention to. But it's that you're paying attention to everything. I never thought of it though as it's sucking your attention, as though it's almost like a vacuum. It's like pulling you into this place that you don't want to go, but your brain is sort of helpless to stopping it.
Yeah.
And how out of control that would feel, if you're like, I'm going to be now I can't get back to whatever it was. It would be very anxiety producing, I would think.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. Cause like, I know that I want to focus on something, but I also know that like my skin is so incredibly sensitive to the point like where, the idea of getting a tattoo, everyone's like, oh, it's just like someone, tapping on your skin just like this. And I'm like, that drives me crazy even just thinking about it. Stop it.
I'm going to have an anxiety attack just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But part of it is that you're saying too, though, I think, if I'm hearing it right, it's out of your control.
Right.
That this is happening to you. Mm-hmm. And it's not so much, ooh, gross, there's something on my hands. Because I remember with Josh when he was a baby, right? And I was just shocked that you could let him throw up on you or suckle or do any,
kiss me with
his gross lips. And I was like always thinking that it was this thing that for you it was somehow disgusting. And then to realize I don't actually think that's what it was. I mean, it may look like that visually, but maybe it's more that it is drawing you away from something, whereas his like slobbery kisses were drawing you into him.
Yeah.
And his kisses, right?
So and I knew they were coming. Like I could see him having strawberry smoothie all over his mouth, and he was coming toward me to give me a kiss. And I'm like, okay, is that my favorite thing? No. But I mean, I'll take it because like it's
cute
him.
Little kisses from a toddler.
Yeah.
But I always thought of it as something about cleanliness or something about it being that it wasn't right or, perfectionist kind of thing or something, probably more my brain than yours. But I never understood that it was going to be pulling you from attending to something else you were really hoping to attend to.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I hadn't really thought about it that way either, but yeah, because I'm definitely not I'm not clean.
Well, I mean, you are, but you're not worried about that. That's not.
Oh yeah. I don't have an issue with germs.
Right. Yeah. You're not a germaphobe. That's not what it is. Interesting. Okay. What types of things might help you in your adult life with the people in your life, letting them know or like, I love this idea that the slap bracelet on your steering wheel, that's brilliant. And that's one of those sequins that like flip back and forth between colors or something too, right?
And with that, it's interesting because I have to be careful which type of bracelet I get. Yeah. Because they come in like a stack of 25 or something. And I had to make sure it was matte so that when the sun hit it, it didn't distract me with the sun. And I lost my matte one. I was really sad. I was devastated when the matte one, because there was only one matte slap bracelet in the pack. For some
reason, yeah.
But so then I found another one that was white, and it didn't change too much of a color. It's more of like an iridescent to white. But like, yeah, there's some that were like, they go from gold to purple. And I'm like, no, that's just too distracting.
So even the strategies you're using sometimes can lead you astray.
Oh, for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so in terms of things like passing your partner the lemon to squeeze, Are there other things that you have found in terms of touch or in terms of feel that, I mean, I remember when you were a kid, we could barely keep clothes on you.
Oh, yeah. Clothing was awful. It was just the worst.
Yeah.
Well, I think that that's a big part of it. Like I don't buy clothing that I know will bother me. So like, for instance,
so you're not all about the fashion anymore. You're just like, let's make sure this is going to be.
I mean, I try to have some fashion. It's a little bit harder being in a bigger body right now, but I still try to enjoy what I wear.
You do look cute. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think I'm much more, I have to be choosy about what I wear. So like, for instance, I found these, I was so excited to find clothing that actually looked cute on me. And so I found these really cute tanks at Torrid. And I loved them. I looked so good in them. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to buy a bunch of them because I look amazing in them. But then as I started wearing them, it was really high up on my neck. And I noticed that I wasn't going towards those shirts, even though I looked really good in them, because it was too much on my neck, and the touch and the feel, my neck is really, really sensitive. And so I don't like having anything on my neck. And so I thought, well, okay, what if I try to find that kind of similar tank, but maybe in a lower cut? And I just recently found a few, and I'm the happiest person I could ever be. I'm I love it. They're so great. But I have to be aware of that stuff, and it's really stressful. I'm taking Josh to New York, and I don't have a pair of pants that are good for New York. I have a pair of jeans, but they cut into my side so much that it's painful. And it's it's almost it's suffocatingly painful. And so I don't want that to be the feeling that I'm having when I'm hanging out with him. I want to feel comfortable and just feel relaxed so that I can go and have a great time with him. Because I know I'll be distracted if I have those pants that are cutting into me.
Yeah.
But then it's well, then what pants do you buy? Right. So then it's just a whole other problem. And finding something that's actually warm enough.
Yeah.
But so it's a stressful process, but I think it's also iterating and being kind to myself that okay, I bought those shirts because I really wanted to look cute again. But I also have to recognize that those shirts I probably need to just donate them and pass them on to somebody else because they're not right for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's the part where I think understanding and being okay with the fact that I'm going to mess up.
And messing up meaning you bought the wrong thing.
Yeah, that I spent money on these things that I probably shouldn't have. But I wouldn't have known that in hindsight.
Yeah.
But now I know, okay, well, if I'm buying something, I really, Megan, you really just got to get a lower cut. Like a scoop neck or a V-neck or something. I've always liked V-necks, but I never really quite thought about why.
Right.
And now it's oh, okay, I know why. But again, it's I think just because we've been really talking about this and processing it that I'm allowing myself to even think about these questions.
Right. Because as a kid, it would be oh, just put it on.
Yeah. You're just being too sensitive. Just put it on.
Yeah. Too sensitive. That's a real trigger word for you. I know.
Yeah, but think about it. If all I can feel is this scratchy thing on my neck,
yeah,
and I'm trying to study, I'm trying to focus in school, it's constantly every time I move, it's pulling me and it's grounding me, it's pulling me out of what I'm supposed to be doing,
right, or what you want to be doing,
what I want to be doing, yeah,
which was you wanted to be a good student. That wasn't ever a question.
Yeah, it wasn't that I didn't want it.
Yeah,
I just couldn't focus on anything else.
Interesting.
I mean, that's why now I have a seam ripper in my bedroom at all times.
Yeah.
Because I'll take out the tags in my shirt or in my bra or in anything.
I totally relate to that. Actually, as we're talking more, I'm realizing, oh yeah, I'm that way too, and sometimes I think it's maybe to a lesser extent, but I just bought these tank tops from Amazon and they do have a tag. And I've had to go through and cut out those. I forgot you gave me a seam ripper. I should have done that. But, it really is distracting my brain allows me to have that distraction and then come right back to what it was I was thinking before. But I could imagine if the minute that distraction happened, I knew or was concerned that I wouldn't be able to get back to whatever it was I was thinking about. That would cause me tremendous anxiety. So I think you handle it really well. I mean, obviously you have practice with handling it, but
yeah,
honestly, I mean, the fact that you're just not screaming all day is pretty amazing, honestly.
No, it is, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've worked really hard to come to that. When we think about our community of people and who we want to invite into this community, I think people who can understand a seam ripper would be part of the people we would want, right?
Or people who have to seam rip for somebody.
Yes.
And what I will say is that if you're somebody who has to seam rip for someone, don't cut it because that will make it even worse.
Yes.
Because if you cut it and then it's a sharp tag, you've got to learn how to seam rip.
Yeah. And
it's not hard once you know.
Yeah, you showed me. And I will say, if you do not know what a seam ripper is, we will post a link to a seam ripper because I'm telling you, those change your life. To our community, I would love to know from people too, what are other sort of things that have happened for them where touch was involved in some way that is causing them to be distracted, or someone that they know and love that they've seen this. Yeah. Right. So it's like, if you can't keep clothes on your kid, we want to know. Because like maybe they're having this distraction too.
Yeah. Or like even sleep, if they're having trouble sleeping and
maybe it's their sheets.
Their sheets are itchy.
Ooh.
That's one of the biggest things for me. Like I have to have softer sheets.
Yeah. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am a princess in the pea, and that's okay.
But we love you.
I'm a cute princess.
That's for sure. Well, thank you for talking to me today, Rosey.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love you lots.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to our podcast, everybody. This podcast was hosted by
Megan Mayadusky
and Michelle Woodward, and it was edited by
Megan Mayadusky.
Oh. And we really appreciate everything that you guys are doing by listening to us.
If you liked it, maybe you might want to share it or give us a rating. That's going to really help us get our message out. And it's also just going to help Michelle and I because we are a 2-woman band.
Yes. We
making
need your
this
help.
all happening.
Absolutely.
And you can also reach us on rosiesbrain.com, which has lots of resources and links from the show. And we'll have show notes and whatnot there and all the crazy puzzles and words and sounds.
And just be ready because there will be some outtakes oftentimes at the end of podcasts. So make sure to follow us all the way till the end.
We hope you're well wherever you're at. And remember, stay compassionate. Well, okay, so I've actually thought about having multiple seam rippers because sometimes I don't realize that something is bothering me until I'm already out.
And this is just like the thing that allows you to take the tag, unhook it from the seam it's on, right?
Yeah, so like when you are sewing, this just has it looks like a little claw, like a little crab claw, and it's got a very, very sharp blade inside. And so then when you put one part of the claw into the seam, it just automatically cuts it. And if you find one that you cannot seam rip out, do not buy it. Just don't do it. Because what will happen is you will cut it as far down as possible, but then it will still hurt because it's like a little lump there.
Little nub.
I should just do a video explaining how to do this.
Please do that. Yeah.